And you are tuning into the Ask Shelly Show. Happy Tuesday, everyone. We're coming out of a long weekend. Prayerfully, you are feeling rejuvenated. You're feeling relaxed. You are ready for another power-packed Ask Shelly segment. We are talking about a man that has written in about his wife who's about to give birth to a child that does not belong to him. And so he is really struggling with the fact that a decision has been made to allow the biological father to be present for the birth. And so this man is writing in for some feedback, from some support. I will need the support of my consultation team on today. Let me say it again. I will need the support of my consultation team today to provide feedback to this gentleman who is asking for some direction, for some feedback. This is not therapy. This is for entertainment and informational purposes only. We pray and hope that the feedback that we do provide, whether that's coming from me or those who are listening in, our sincere hope is that it adds tools to the wellness toolboxes of those who are listening in. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ask Shelly Show. Let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. My name is Shelly Fanfan, and I am the CEO and owner of Ask Shelly Consulting. I have the opportunity to work with corporations, providing psychoeducation that brings them to peak performance. I have the privilege of working with individuals, with adolescents, with couples, with families, with marriages, providing evidence-based therapeutic interventions that bring them to their place of breakthrough. I have the opportunity to go all over the world speaking on matters such as skill parenting and how to overcome problem behavior and intimacy enhancement with married couples and how to get unstuck. I have the privilege of being the host of the Ask Shelly Show, where we share life challenges of individuals who are voluntarily writing in, asking for some feedback. Again, this is not in any way, shape, or form an attempt to replace therapy. That is a process where someone says, I'm ready to break through. I want more. I deserve more. They consent to a treatment plan that's specifically designed to assisting the person in achieving an irreplaceable version of themselves. Today, we provide feedback. As an emotional intelligence expert, I have the opportunity to provide feedback. You as listeners, you have the opportunity to provide feedback. This man, right, is saying that my wife is about to give birth to another man's child and I need help. So your emotional intelligence expert is also telling you listeners, I need your help. I will need your feedback. I will need your views. I will need your questions as well. It's about each one, teach one. Go ahead and click the share button. You never know whose line of hearing or line of sight that this recording will fall. You may think that this is a very unique situation, and it is not. So we are talking about having children out of wedlock. But in this particular case, I think when we hear that, we automatically assume it's the man having a child out of wedlock. In this particular case, it is the wife. So go ahead and go into the comment section again. Let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What should we tell this man? He's like, listen, what should I do? I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm going to read the question to give you some more context so that your feedback could be more along the lines of what he is needing support for. What I need you to do, not only tell me who you are or where you are logging in from, pay attention to the pinned comment. There's a pinned comment there that gives you a link, that gives you the opportunity to meet me right here on stage. You can keep your camera off. You don't have to identify yourself. You will come on stage with me and you will share your feedback right here live with me. And listen, again, your feedback is valuable and you can do it in confidence. So go ahead and click that link and join me right here on stage with your questions. You can also provide your feedback right in the comments section. I I need to be sure that you are ready for the question. You are ready for the question. Let me know. Again, this is a man that says, help me. My wife is about to give birth to a child that does not belong to me. Again, go into that comment section, click share, and we are ready for the question. So here we go. Listen closely. And as I am speaking, provide your feedback in the comment section. And it says, Dear Ask Shelly, I am a whole man, he puts in all caps, an alpha man in all caps, and I need some major help. I literally feel like I am losing my mind. There is no other way to explain it. Long story short, I used to be a habitual cheater. I have been married for almost 14 years now and cheated for 10 of those years. Go ahead and comment, add your feedback. It had nothing to do with my wife and a lot to do with learned behavior I watched for years being raised by my habitual cheating father and my cheating uncles. It is all I knew, and it almost cost me my marriage. When I realized that I needed help and could no longer hurt my wife and children, I got therapy. I was in counseling for about a year individually and achieved major healing in my life. It was like we had re-met and remarried. About 1.5 years ago, my wife went through a major change. Listen up, folks. She lost all of her baby weight, cut her hair, became a gym addict, and transformed her body. She began going out and getting a lot of attention. She obtained a social life, and that was the beginning of the end. She met a man and had an affair. The affair was very short-lived, but the consequences of it will cost us a lifetime. My wife is currently pregnant as a result of the affair. I left the marriage, then realized it was wrong of me to do so given all of the forgiveness she gave me, and I am in hell. She is due to give birth in several weeks, and I am finding out that the father of the child will be present at birth. I am giving my last name to a child that is not mine, dealing with my pride, and now I have to see this dude too? How much can one person take? I need help in all caps. So I would love to hear what you have to say. All of my listeners, my consultation team, make sure you click share, make sure you tag someone that needs to hear this conversation and have them join in on this live. Hello, Clayton. Thank you so much for joining the Ask Shelly Show. Dawn Alexander, thank you so much for joining the Ask Shelly Show. Clayton says, anytime a guy says I'm an alpha male, it is automatically suspect, laughing my FAO. Okay. You know what? I may have to agree with that a little bit. Thank you so much for your comment. Dawn says, I love and require a respectful alpha male. Come on now, respectful alpha male. Clayton says, what's good for the goose? Thank you so much. Keep commenting. So what is your feedback? What would you say to this man, Dawn? What would you say to this man, Clayton? He is saying that I am going to have to face this man that impregnated my wife. I feel like I'm in hell. What is it that I do? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to reread the question. Continue with your comments. Tag someone that you want to hear this conversation, someone that you think will contribute to this conversation. Don't forget that you can join me right here live, and you can do that in confidence. You can keep your camera off. All you have to do is go to the pinned comment, click on that link, join me right here. No one will know your name, and you can share your feedback live. All right, so here we go. We're going to reread the question, take some of the comments from those of you who are tuning in. I will provide my feedback, and let's believe in breakthrough for this family. This man's wife is about to give birth to another man's baby. So here we go. And the question reads, going back to the question, Dear Ask Shelly, I am a whole man, an alpha man that was in all caps, and I need some major help. I literally feel like I am losing my mind. There is no other way to explain it. Long story short, I used to be a habitual cheater. I have been married for almost 14 years now and cheated for 10 of those years. It had nothing to do with my wife and a lot to do with learned behavior I watched for years being raised by my habitual cheating father and my cheating uncles. It is all I knew, and it almost cost me my marriage. When I realized that I needed help and could no longer hurt my wife and children, I got therapy. I was in counseling for about a year individually and achieved major healing in my life. It was like we had re-met and remarried. About 1 year and a half ago, my wife went through a major change. She lost all of her baby weight, cut her hair, became a gym addict, and transformed her body. She began going out and getting a lot of attention. She obtained a social life, and that was the beginning of the end. She met a man and had an affair. The affair was very short-lived, but the consequences of it will cost us a lifetime. My wife is currently pregnant as a result of the affair. I left the marriage then, realized it was wrong of me to do so, given all of the forgiveness she gave me, and I am in hell. She is due to give birth in several weeks, and I am finding out that the father of the child will be present at the birth. I am giving my last name to a child that is not mine, dealing with my pride, and now I have to see this dude too? How much can one person take? I need help. So that is what we are processing today, a child that was born out of wedlock, and the wife is the one that is giving birth. So here we go. I would love to hear what my listeners have to say. We have Clayton here that says, here's the problem. We don't know how she either internalized it or if she dealt with the infidelity. You're in my notes. We're going to go ahead and talk about that because that's a question that I have too, Clayton. Clayton continues to write, to a degree, it sounds like there was some blame put on her physical appearance, and as such, she went hard to make that change. And conversely, it's odd that he mentions he went to therapy. However, no mention of couples therapy. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I get so excited because I'm like, okay, I'm not completely lost on this. And Clayton continues to write, I kind of feel like she never had a chance to heal herself and unfortunately found attention from someone else. Now, the whole my last name, nah, LOL. And Dawn says, I'm at a loss for words. So let's talk about this a little bit. Continue to share your feedback. Your feedback is valuable. I think a diversity of thoughts and responses is healthy, especially for this person who's writing in and saying, I need some perspective. First and foremost, I would like to highlight some initial observations or some things that come up as an observer, right? As I read this message. And one of the things I think I'm going to start doing is like making a slide so you guys can read along with me. If you guys are like me, I like to see things. It helps me to kind of organize my thoughts a little bit more. But as I am reading this, there are a couple of things that come up for me. I just want to share that. And then hopefully it kind of brings us to a perspective because I'm all over the place with this one. First and foremost, learned behavior is very powerful. Okay, very powerful, especially because the learning is happening whether you are conscious of it or not, whether you are volunteering in the learning process or not, learning is happening. So learned behavior is very powerful. Have you ever thought to yourself, I would never do this, like, you know, something that maybe your mom did or your dad did or your grandmother or grandfather, whoever your caregiver was, and you sat there and said, I would never, I will never, right? Just to end up being and doing the very thing you said that you wouldn't. Learned behavior is powerful. Many are living very stuck lives as a result of lessons learned through observation of individuals in their primary support circles. And unlearning that behavior is very difficult. It's not impossible. All changes and disruptions of behavioral patterns are difficult, even when those behavioral patterns don't serve you. But understanding the difficulty in breaking behavioral patterns and thought patterns is important, because when we're talking about the need for therapy, we're not talking about just great advice. We're talking about evidence-based interventions to help break those patterns to set you free. So that's the first observation, that he says that a lot of his behaviors were manifestations of learned behavior from his caregivers. Number two, and let me say this, when I have these observations, understand that it's an opportunity for the listener to take self-inventory themselves, right? So this is why, although I'm highlighting a question that was written in by someone other than who's on live right now, or maybe not, that person could be listening in too, right? It gives us an opportunity to take self-inventory. What is it that you do that was learned? And what are you doing to unlearn it and break that pattern in your own life? I know that it's entertaining to kind of lean in and dive into the lives of other people who voluntarily share their information and their challenges, but it also gives us an opportunity to grow ourselves. Next, I love that he went to therapy to get help. I do. One of the most effective ways a person can break maladaptive thought and behavioral patterns is to get therapy. Let me say that again. The word is maladaptive. That means it's not adapting. It doesn't cause prosperity or abundance. It's counter-therapeutic. It's counterproductive. It's unhealthy. It attracts unfavorable outcomes to your life. It's called maladaptive, right? So the best way to break those maladaptive thought patterns, those maladaptive behavioral patterns, is to get therapy. Again, therapy is a series of what? Evidence-based, scientifically evidence-based interventions to strengthen a person's ability to live in a manner that attracts favorable life outcomes. Therapy teaches skills and mechanisms that causes a person to heal from emotional injury, which includes problematic learned behavioral patterns. Therapy teaches individuals how to manage their emotions. This is called emotional regulation. So what does that mean? There are certain emotions that we experience that have to sit in the passenger seat of your vehicle, your life vehicle. There are certain emotions that have to sit in the back seat, can't even sit in the passenger seat of your life vehicle. And for some of us, we have emotional experiences that have to be locked up in the trunk in our life vehicle. And so when we learn how to emotionally regulate, you are able to consciously do that. And say, fear, you need to get back in the trunk. And self-doubt, you need to get to the back seat, because I'm about to go in and pitch my boss for this promotion. And so understand how important mood regulation is. These are the things that therapy can strengthen, skill sets that therapy can teach. Therapy is the conduit for mind, body, and soul healing. So I have to say, I have to concur with my consultation team member, Clayton, who says, didn't hear about her therapeutic process. My concern is that I did not hear that the wife received therapy. 10 years of cheating, 10 years of lies, 10 years of compromise, 10 years of not feeling enough or adequate, 10 years of mistrust, distrust. If she was aware of the cheating, which she evidently was, what did her healing process look like? What did the healing process of the marriage look like? I hear that he got his healing. I'm not hearing how she got her healing. I'm not hearing how they as one unit got their healing, right? So what do we say here on the Ask Shelly Show? What do we say here on the Ask Shelly Show? A powerful force that guides the way that we behave, the way that we think. One of the most powerful forces that guide the way that we behave and the way that we think is unresolved emotional injury. One of the most powerful forces that guide the way that we think and the way that we behave is unresolved emotional injury, which leads us to number 3 of my observations. The act of adultery means so many things, right? Because right now we're talking about what did her healing process look like? What did the healing process of the marriage look like? Let's talk about adultery for a second. Those who are listening, I want you to go into the comments section and tell me why you think adultery happens. Just share your thoughts. Why do you think adultery even happens? Let me see what you have to say, if anything at all. Why do you think adultery happens? I'm going to go to the comments here. Dawn says, did she have the affair for revenge? Why not just divorce if you're not happy with your husband? I think that's what that meant to say. Did she have the affair for revenge? Why not just divorce if you're not happy with your husband? Clayton goes on to write, correct. He regulated his emotions, but was the wife afforded that same opportunity? There are some details that are missing, i.e. if he cheated for 10 years, was his behavior during that time? Was he ignoring her? Was he not sleeping with her? Was extra blame put on her weight? These are critical to the story, but also critical to how to move forward. That is so good. That is so good. Clayton says, girl, that's a bevy of things. LOL. Now we're talking about why infidelity even happens. Clayton says, inattentiveness as one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sandra Leslie, thank you so much for tuning into the Ask Shelly Show. From what I have witnessed, it was related to insecurity and ego issues with the person that cheated. That's so good. We have more reasons from Clayton. Number 2, greed. 3, dissatisfaction. 4, sex. Let's talk about some of the things that I have seen. And I can go on and on, right? As a psychotherapist of over 21 years, closer to 23 actually, years of experience. It happens for so many reasons. So for so many reasons, it's difficult to determine a general why. It can be a lack of self-control, an internal void, emotional injury, unmet needs and expectations, perceived loneliness, a need for something new, a need for something different, a need for attention, a need for intimacy. It could be a power and control issue. It could be passive aggression. It could be selfishness. Whatever it is, whatever is on the list, it does not change the fact that it is a devastating and for many a traumatic form of betrayal. What can come out of it, right? 2 things, 2 major things. And of course, those have little subsets and subcategories to them. The relationship ends or the relationship continues. And when it continues, when 2 people choose to continue, despite the adultery, here are some of the steps that couples can go through, right? So there are certain stages that I take my couples through when they come and say, we need post-infidelity help. We need post-adultery help. Right? And so there are many different stages, many different paths that I take the couples through depending on the circumstances. So I'm going to go super, super general, but still kind of give an idea of where my feedback is coming from. Number 1 needs to be the exposure of the truth. That is so important because that is where healing begins. Healing cannot happen without exposure. And so when individuals are not forthcoming about the details of their infidelity, the details of their affair, you are just delaying the process of healing. Exposure comes by way of exposure comes for the purpose of healing. Even when we see that people are exposed in the media and exposed in the public, it's always God's intention to heal that person or those circumstances or that ministry or that church. It starts with exposure. Exposure is the first stage of healing. So after the exposure of the truth, and because we won't even start the therapeutic process without the exposure of the truth. And sometimes couples will realize, I don't even want to do this anymore because I didn't know that. And I didn't know that. I thought I was forgiving you for that. But now I'm hearing this. You slept in our bed? Okay, I'm done. It can be a very painful thing, but exposure is a very important part of the healing process. Second, is a commitment to doing all necessary to maintain the relationship. This is so important that there is a full-blown commitment to doing all that's necessary to maintain the relationship. What does that look like? It starts with ending the extracurricular relationship, right? It starts with ending the extramarital affair. I will not engage in therapy with a married couple with one or both of them still in these extra affairs with other people. So the commitment to doing all necessary to maintain the marriage has to include ending the relationship. Again, being honest, getting individualized treatment. Let me say that again, getting individualized treatment, supporting the other's individual process. That's huge. How dare you be upset because you think your wife is taking too long to heal? I'm just using that as an example. That's not this necessary question, but I've seen it. Why in the world are you so upset because you think that your husband should be healed in a year? Why is he still asking me questions and still going through my phone? Really? We have to be able to support the other's individual process of healing. We have to be completely engaged in the couple's healing process. It's important to be open to learning new information. What do we say? A lot of the times breakthrough is on the other side of something we do not know. My mentor, Colleen Otero, says it best. So in these therapeutic processes, we have to be open to learning new information. We have to be open to learning how to deny ourselves of self-gratification. That is a skill. And for some people, it has to be learned. The next is forgiveness. And not only forgiveness of the other person, but also, or forgiveness of the perpetrator, but a forgiveness of ourselves. A lot of the times, the person who was cheated on carries a lot of shame and guilt. And if I could have done this or should have done that, or if I would have done this, right? So this process of healing that we're talking post-adultery also involves not only forgiveness of the other person, or forgiveness of the perpetrator, but also forgiveness of ourselves, to learn how to give ourselves grace, learning the skill sets involved in being generous with yourself, self-generosity, being soft with yourself, giving yourself grace. This is very important in the whole entire healing process, because if you have forgiven the other person and you have not forgiven yourself, it's still not a healed project that we're looking at. We're not looking at healed outcomes. We're not looking at outcomes that are favorable, that's going to continue to contribute to a lifelong process of happiness and joy in your marriage. This process needs self-correction, where individuals are truly learning the root of their behavior, the why, and learning how to reframe the thoughts associated with those behaviors, how to break behavioral patterns and engage in healthier behavioral patterns. This is all a part of the healing process. The next stage, and where I want to stop and lean into, is finding value in the experience. That's hard. Finding value in the experience. So listen, as painful as this experience is, okay, and I'm speaking directly to the writer, as painful as this experience is, this can be a living symbol. This child can be a living symbol of the love and perseverance that you and your wife have. right? It can be a living symbol of the love and perseverance that you guys have had, that you currently have, and will continue to have during this season. Now, I want you to think about these things. These are just considerations, and I'm sure my listeners will provide their feedback too. I would recommend, or I would, let me not say that, I am encouraging you to consider continued therapy. You made a decision to stay with your wife despite the pain and discomfort, okay? Now, let me go back. Therapy always has treatment plan goals for that therapeutic process. It sounds like you went through therapy, right, in order for you to find the root of your cheating and to really address that therapeutically so that you can break that behavioral pattern and reframe all the thoughts that are associated with those behavioral patterns. This is now a new issue. Okay, this is a new circumstance, because sometimes people say, I already had therapy. Well, you had therapy for that circumstance. You had therapy for that season in your life. The skill sets that you learned in therapy for that season in your life may not be applicable to these new circumstances, this new season, these new devils, right? So we got to make sure that we're clear on that. You made a decision to stay with your wife despite the pain and discomfort. That is a decision that you made. No one can say that the decision was right or wrong. We may make decisions that are not manifestations of a healthy mindset, right? Can't really say right or wrong. We may make decisions that are not necessarily a display of healthy mindsets. However, in this case, it is hard to declare that, not having all of the pieces to the puzzle. We can't declare that that was not necessarily a healthy decision, or you made the decision based on pride only. It really wasn't for the sake of your man. We don't know. We don't have we don't have all those details, right? So all we know is that you made a decision to stay. You may still need help and support to make it through the process of sticking to that decision. And guess what? That is okay. I've made this decision, and I'm not sure if I have the skill set to deal with the decision that I made. I don't want to run from it. I just need support. I need skills. I need a place to vent, a safe space, a non-judgmental space, right? That may be you. And so consider going back to getting the support that you need. I challenge you to reframe your thinking. You have chosen your wife, and your wife has chosen you. Your pride may cause you to engage in thoughts that may cause your discomfort to be elevated, especially during the birth of your child, with the biological child being there, right? So your pride may cause you to engage in thoughts that may cause your discomfort to be elevated, right? Your wife is about to give birth to a child that you're giving your last name to, right? I think there's some laws actually surrounding that. If there's any lawyers on the line, let me know, right? And that is tough, sir. That is challenging. No one can say that's an easy or small pill to swallow, but you can do it. You have made it this far. You can do this. You can do it. You've made it this far. What, 9 months? About to be 10. She's about to give birth. Increase your support system, especially that day. Make sure you're positive and powerful supporters, not people that are going to run to the parking lot while he's up there watching the birth of his child and slash his tires in the parking lot. I'm not talking about those friends, but make sure you're positive and powerful friends, right? You're powerful and you're positive supporters. Assure that they are on speed dial. Make sure that you have your motivation playlist ready up in your ears, in your AirPods, in your headphones, wherever, right? Make sure you have your gospel playlist ready, sir. Get ready to drop down to the floor in the men's bathroom and do push-ups until you just can't no more. Dust off your journal. Bring that with you too. Get the little recording on your cell phone where you can record your voice. Get that ready. Take a walk so you could just vent, curse, and yell while you record yourself. Listen. Get yourself a coloring book ASAP. You have to do what you have to do to assure that you have an arsenal of wellness tools on that day. You did this in the name of love and repentance. You made a declaration to not allow infidelity to have any effect on your decision to spend the rest of your life with your wife. So do not forget your why. Is she worth it? Is your marriage worth it? Are your children worth it? These are answers that only you can give. And for those answers that are not very clear, you can get that clarity through a therapeutic process. I feel the need to say this as well. And I don't know if anyone else is feeling this. I don't know why I kind of feel this, but sometimes our experiences with our challenges can be even worse when we perceive them to be bad, like really, really bad. Like you may be thinking that your pain is far greater than what she experienced in the marriage. Now, you did not say this, guys, or whoever's listening, this was not said in the question. But in case you are thinking like, at least I didn't have children outside of wedlock, at least she doesn't have to deal with this reminder for the rest of her life. In case you are doing that, know that it is a dangerous and very unfair comparison. That can cause you to believe that this is unfair because at least she doesn't have to deal with the child and all of that. I caution you, it is a risky process when you try to understand a person's emotional response to an aversive event. It is okay when you are trying to be empathetic, but when it's being done to compare the level of hurt and shame, it becomes very dangerous because you can cause a whirlwind of resentment and hostility to come in and derail the very thing that you are trying to accomplish. Who is to say that this pain and discomfort that you're going to feel the day that she's giving birth and this man is waiting to see his child? I don't know how that's going to look, right? But who's to say that she didn't experience that pain when you didn't come home at night? Or when you weren't home and she knew exactly where you were for 10 years. So if there's any comparison going on, again, I caution you to reframe that with everything that you have on the inside of you. In all that you do, sir, remember your why. Remember your why. All right. And so going back to my consultation team, let me know what it is you believe or any other additional feedback that you would like to provide to this writer who wrote in on today about needing tips on what to do to make it through the fact that his wife is giving birth to another man's child. If you have any additional feedback, please go ahead and go into the comment section and let us know what it is you think. You can also join me right here live on stage and provide your feedback right here. No one will see you. We won't know your name, but we would love to hear your voice and your feedback as it relates to this situation. I hope, sir, that this was helpful. Again, these are perspectives. I would definitely encourage you to reconnect in therapy. It's important that you assure that you have a really, really powerful and strong support system during this time to make sure that you are not being reactive, that you're being responsive, and you're doing so in a very skillful way. A lot of the times when we're dealing with stuff and it seems so unbearable, it is because we don't have the skill set to overcome and navigate effectively and with power and authority through that challenge. And so again, your healing oftentimes is on the other side of something you do not know. How in the world can I keep my anger at a 3 or 4 when I am face to face with a gentleman that my wife had an affair with? Well, there are things you can do. There's something called grounding, right? There are many ways that an individual can engage in grounding, which is a very powerful method of regulating our moods. You can learn how to ground. If you are on this live, or you're catching the replay and you're thinking to yourself, I wouldn't know how to do that. I don't even know how to take a thought and reframe it. When I'm engaging in thoughts that cause me to feel like I'm not enough, or if I am tapping into and leaning into my fear, I just don't know how to stop that process, right? Then therapy is for you, because you can learn the skill sets on how to do that. It took me years, but I am able to do that. I'm able to come out of my head and not allow fear to come between me and the steering wheel, right? But you have to learn how to do that. When you are anxious, how do I get that feeling to go away? How do I calm myself down? How am I able to put myself to sleep when I'm rolling around as a result of insomnia? What is it that I can do? These are skills that you can learn. What do I do to get over my shyness? I want to connect with people more. Those are skill sets that you learn, that you practice, that you apply. And so, again, to this gentleman, know that the more skills that you have, the more tools you will have in your wellness toolbox, and you will be able to make it through that day or through this season in your life as a whole. I hope this was helpful. For those of you who are tuning into the Ask Shelly Show, be sure to click share, share, share. You never know whose line of sight or line of hearing this would fall in. This is about how do we truly stay committed to the decision to forgive someone and move on with them in a relationship after one of the worst forms of betrayal. And so for those of you who think that somebody needs to hear this, assure that you guide them to the Ask Shelly Facebook page or the Ask Shelly YouTube page and get this feedback that would cause them to take the necessary steps needed for their breakthrough. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning into the Ask Shelly Show. If you heard something today that made you feel like, oh boy, you know what? That's me. You can email info@askshelly.com for individual or group support. Again, you can do so by emailing info@askshelly.com. You can also visit with me at www.askshelly.com, which is my website. You can book me for an event. You can book me as a speaker. You can book me for a consultation with me or one of my esteemed emotional intelligence expert team members. And again, you can do so by requesting a consultation on my website, www.askshelly.com. You too can write in your challenging questions and your experiences to get the feedback of this community of listeners. And you can do so by emailing your questions to info@askshelly.com. Again, you can also submit your challenging questions right on my website, www.askshelly.com. Our hope each and every show is that we are able to assist others in adding tools to their wellness toolbox. This is our hope, that we can help others in adding tools to their wellness toolbox. Our hope and our desire is that in this season, that we have a wellness toolbox that is oversupplied, right? Oversupplied, that we have tools spilling out of our wellness toolboxes so that we can truly walk in dominion, walk in authority, and walk in royalty. How do you expect to have dominion over anything if you don't have dominion over your emotions? So be the CEO, be the top executive of your emotions and watch your life change forever. You have the capacity to change even your outlook and your perspective on life by being intentional about self-development. So you are encouraged to activate that process of achieving the AN for achieving an irreplaceable version of yourself. Learn the skills. Breakthrough is on the other side of something you do not know. So take life by the horns. Give yourself the opportunity to be well. Wellness and healing is what you deserve. It may not be just what you desire, but it is what you deserve. It is your kingdom and blood-born right to be well. So get it. Get it, do it with aggression, do it with consistency, but whatever you do, don't stay the same. Your only competition is who you were yesterday. Blessings.